In 1969, just a few days after Christmas, a woman was abducted from her home in London, but she wasn't the intended target. Today, we will be covering the kidnapping and murder of Muriel McKay, and how a case can be solved and unresolved at the same time. So before we get into this one, just a quick reminder to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more dark content just like this. I make videos on true crime, mysteries, and the paranormal, so if that sounds like right up your street, then please do the thing. Muriel McKay, along with her husband Alec, was born and raised in Adelaide, South Australia. The couple moved to London in 1958 for Alec's job as a newspaper executive with Rupert Murdoch's News Limited, and they lived in St Mary's House on Arthur Road, Wimbledon. On the evening of the 29th of December 1969, Muriel had just returned home and was expecting her husband to return home shortly thereafter. The doorbell rang and Muriel is believed to have answered, and upon opening it, intruders forced their way into the home and abducted her. But the crucial part of this story is that Muriel was not the intended victim here. The kidnappers believed she was someone else, and it was this mistake that would prove fatal for her. The intended target was actually Anna Murdoch, the wife of Rupert Murdoch, who also lived in Wimbledon. Rupert Murdoch had recently bought the News of the World newspaper and was a high-profile, wealthy figure, so the kidnappers believed that his family would be able to easily pay a large ransom if they kidnapped Anna. But due to the close distance between the houses, the kidnappers went to the wrong address, assumed Muriel was Anna, and this single mistake led to her abduction. So this wasn't a crime of intention, it was one of proximity. When Alec arrived home at 7:45 that evening, he found the front door unlocked, the telephone torn from the wall, and the contents of Muriel's handbag scattered on the stairs and the house eerily empty. He knew immediately that something wasn't right and reported her missing at 8 p.m. And then came the ransom demands. After the telephone was repaired at 1 a.m, a caller contacted the house and demanded £1 million. And they made contact many more times after this, demanding the ransom be paid. And through these communications, it was made clear that they thought they had abducted Rupert Murdoch's wife. So right from the beginning, the police treated the abduction as an organised kidnapping. And because the kidnappers believed they'd taken someone high profile, the case became prominent in the news. Officers monitored all phone calls and messages from the kidnappers, attempting to trace their origin, analyse voices and patterns, and identify locations. A significant part of this involved working with the family to keep the kidnappers calling to buy time and gather evidence. Then two suspects became apparent upon investigation: brothers Arthur and Nizamuddin Hussein. Through a multitude of methods, including phone box tracing, tracking movement, voice and handwriting analysis, and witness sightings, they managed to connect the brothers to Rook's Farm in Hertfordshire, a secluded property that fit the likely holding location. The farm provided isolation, buildings, and control of access, which is consistent with where a hostage could be concealed. Initially, both denied involvement, but years later, Nizamuddin gave accounts suggesting they had kidnapped her and that she had died while being kept at Rook's Farm. Despite extensive searches for Muriel, including at Rook's Farm, her body was never found. Nizamuddin claimed that they had buried her at the farm, but this still hasn't been confirmed. So despite no body being found, both men were convicted of her murder, and this decision was based on the evidence gathered at the time, so the phone calls, the handwriting, the witness testimonies, and their connection to Rook's Farm. But at this time, they hadn't confessed to the murder. This case remains one of the first high-profile cases in the UK that secured a murder conviction without evidence of a body. It's a case where the defendants were convicted based on strong circumstantial evidence proving death and responsibility beyond reasonable doubt. But what this type of verdict does to the family and friends of a deceased loved one is monumental. They did indeed accept that the evidence against the brothers was worthy of conviction, but the absence of Muriel's whereabouts left them with lasting uncertainty and pain, as you can imagine. So what does justice mean without a body? So from the evidence and from the later confession, it's believed that Muriel was taken from her home to Rook's farm, where she was then held for a short amount of time and then was murdered. Nizamuddin has pointed to a specific area of Stocking Farm, formerly Rook's farm, where he claims to have buried her. However, intensive police digs, both in 2022 and 2024, failed to find a body. In 2026, the case saw significant developments, including a High Court declaration of death, and in a search held in March of an East London garden, a bone was found, but it was later confirmed as non-human. So there is no sense of closure. The case is solved, but still unresolved. It's saddening to think that when Muriel returned home that December evening, she would never have imagined the nightmare that was about to unfold. She did nothing wrong, and yet she became a victim of consequence. And that is the case of the kidnapping and murder of Muriel McKay. Let me know what you thought of this one, and if there are any specific mysteries that you'd like me to cover in future videos, please let me know. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.